Hi, for this video what I want to do is show you how to do conversions with the metric system. So on this chart I do have it laid out in terms of meters for all of the different conversions. So 1 meter is equal to 1,000,000 micrometers. 1 meter is also 1,000 millimeters. A meter is 100 centimeters and 10 decimeters. And then if you're going to the other side, we would say that 10 meters is 1 decameter, 100 meters is 1 hectometer, 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer, and 1,000,000 meters is 1 megameter. Okay, I do have all of the units over here. For micro, we do use mu, which is the Greek letter for m. Since there's so many other m's in here, because we use m for milli and we also use m for meters, that would be really confusing to have another m, so we do use mu for micro. Because we have two that start with D, deci and deca, and deca can be spelled both with a K and a C. I've seen it both ways. On here I do have it as deca, and then I think I wrote down here the other spelling with the C. So both of them I've seen and both of them are acceptable, so it really just kind of depends on the author or the preference. I always grew up learning with a C, but the text that I was getting this from, they did use K. So I did want to point that out. For decimeter, we always use D, and then for deca, we use DA. Okay, so those are the ones that I wanted to point out. Megameter, we do use a capital M. And I didn't want to take the time to have to retype this out for grams or liters. So everywhere that I have a meter or an M, I could replace that with a G for gram or an L for liters. So for example, 1 gram is equal to 100 centigrams. So instead of having to retype that out, I did put this in here. That is the nice thing about the metric system, is the metric system is base 10, whether you are dealing with your length or you're dealing with weight or volume. So for this, you're either multiplying by powers of 10 or dividing by powers of 10. So let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples and do some conversions. I also have a couple of applications. Okay, so the first one that we're going to do is 510 centimeters, and we're going to convert that to meters. So I know that I want to have centimeters down below so that those will cancel out. And so I would come up to my chart and I can see that my conversion from centimeters to meters is this one. So I would divide by 100 centimeters and that gives me 1 meter. So now that I have it set up, the nice thing about this is because I'm dividing by 100, that's telling me that I'm taking 510 and I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. So I would end up with 5.1 meters. So the nice thing is you can do this without a calculator very easy, where in the US standard system, sometimes you're dividing by 4, sometimes 16, sometimes 8, sometimes 3. And so it can be very confusing. With the metric system, you're always either dividing or multiplying by powers of 10. Okay, so let's look at the next one that I have. This time we have 0.25 kilograms, so I would put kg, and I want to convert that to grams. So this time we're going larger to smaller, so since I'm going larger to smaller, I'm going to use this side of the chart. And so I would go to where I have kilo, and so I can say that 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Remember that I just replaced the M with G because I'm dealing with grams. Okay, so for this one, because of the fact that we have 0.25 and we are multiplying it with 3 zeros, we would just move this over 1, 2, 3 places to the right, and I would just put a 0 in there. So we can say that this is 250 grams. Okay, moving on to the next one, we have 1,250 centiliters to decaliters. And so with this one, because of the fact that I am going to decaliters, I don't have a direct conversion up here from centa to deca. So what I would do first is I would first go from centa to liters. So remember that for centa it's 100. And then up here I would have 1 liter. So I'm going to first convert it to liters. And then from liters, I would go to decaliters. So for this, because I want DAL, if you need to, you can go back up to the chart. And because I want DAL, we can see that right here, if I replace the M with an L, I can say 1 deciliter here. And I'm going to go to, or I'm getting rid of my liters, and so I would put a 10 down on the bottom. Okay, so with this one, if you want to do this using scientific notation, you always can. Because of the fact that I have 1, 2, 3 here, I would just take the 1, 2, 5, 0, and I'm dividing, so whenever I'm dividing, I move to the left. So I would just go over 1, 2, and 3, and we can see that this ends up being 1.25 deciliters. Okay, moving into the next one. This time we're given micrometers. Okay, so I have 5,240,000 micrometers, and I want to convert it to centimeters. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the 1 million micrometers, and I forgot my units. And I'm going to convert to meters. So 1 meter is equal to 1 million micrometers. Okay, and then I'm going to, because I'm going meters to centimeters, 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So that's how I would work with this because I'm dividing. So what I can do is I can reduce 2 of these here, so I can take off 2 zeros here. And so since I have 5, 2, 4, 0, 0, 0, I am going to cancel out 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to move this over starting from here, 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we can say that this ends up being 524 centimeters. Okay, so I could have done it this way. I could have also changed this to 5.24 and then did 5.24 times 100, which would have still put me at 524. So it's kind of a matter of preference. I know some people struggle with calculators. Some prefer just to plug this into the calculator and not have to think about it. You can always do that too. Okay, so 1.25 hectograms to decigrams. So for this one, again, I want to go to grams first. Okay, so we're going from larger to smaller, so I'm going to go to grams first. So to do that, remember that there are 100 grams in 1 hectogram. And then I'm going to go from grams to decigrams. And remember that DG is decigrams. And so there's 10 decigrams in 1 gram. So for this, I'm really multiplying by 3 zeros. So I would have 1.25. So I'm going to move this over 1, 2, 3 to the right. Okay, so I would end up with 1,250 decigrams. So 1,250 decigrams is the same thing as 1.25 hectograms. All right, so last one. I have 0.05 deciliters, so I would put DAL. 2 centiliters, so again, we're going to go from deciliters to liters. So I can say that there are 10 liters in 1 deciliter. And then from liters, I'm going to go to centimeters. So we know that there are 100 centiliters in 1 liter. Okay, and so then if we simplify this, we would just do 0.05 And notice I'm going to move it over 1, 2, 3 zeros. So I would move it over 1, 2, and 3. And so if I do that, I end up with 50 centiliters. So there's 50 centiliters in 0.05 deciliters. Hopefully this was able to help you be able to find out how to convert in the metric system. So remember that whether you are working with length, weight, or volume, the conversions are the same. You're either going to be multiplying by powers of 10 or dividing by powers of 10. As always, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. If there are additional topics that you would like me to cover, please let me know that as well.